Okay, good morning, guys. I'm gonna do something to help you out if you have a studio and are considering doing classes. Everybody started somewhere in a class or family business. Eventually, they say, I want to have a class of my own and help others. There are classes in colleges and established studios, but there are times when a group of folks don't have the availability of a nearby studio, and somebody comes up with an idea, and that's how it gets started. Uh, I used to have classes. Well, my mom did, and my brothers did, and it was always difficult for somebody in my case. I wasn't very articulate. To put good words, I was more of a shower. I'll show you, and then you can do it. I was never really good at articulating, the actual rules, and well, the rules were on paper, and the safety, and then how things should be done, and basically keeping an eye on everybody. Some people are better at it. I was okay. I mean, I was okay. I'd be more like, hiding under the bench because I'm cutting wrong, or doing something, or if the band-aids have to come out. But yeah, I in my studio, I would hire proficient hobbyists to teach that were, friendly and, good at what they did. And it was very successful, actually. I said, you know what? I'm going to lay down the rules, the safety rules, number one, and then, the prices and stuff. But they would basically run the class. So that would be something you may want to consider if you don't have a partner, or if you aren't the teacher quality. I guess it's because I'm more of an introvert. I get along with people. It's just I start stumbling and repeating myself. So anyway, I just wanted to go over just a few basic things, with safety, and easy with a Google search. You can go ahead and I search for rules for classes, stained glass classes. What you want to do, there's one thing I found very important. You want to have these rules printed out, and many copies, and people actually, read them and check off and sign it that they read the rules. Number one. And then you save that. So these are the rules. You acknowledge the safety issues, and how you communicate with others, and the teacher. And the teacher or the instructor has the final say, and anything they advise you must be followed. As far as mostly surrounding safety issues. So if somebody tries a different way of doing something, hey, let them do their thing, but you can explain why or how things are working, and that's all part of the teaching process. But the rules themselves should be pretty straightforward. We have in Google, the rules typically prioritize safety and create a conducive learning environment. Essential safety measures include, wearing glasses, appropriate clothing, and footwear. The big one is open-toed shoes, for obvious reasons. You don't want glass falling down between someone's toes, and or there are. I would actually prefer folks to wear a good work shoe in case they step on glass, and that's another thing. But if they don't, you let them know. Say, I prefer you to have leather work shoes. But you can't imagine 80-year-old women trampling around in work boots. It just doesn't happen. But you just let them know that the rule is no open-toed shoes, and to respect glass shards at all times. If something hits the floor, sweep it under the bench or pick it up. Just for safety reasons, treat glass like it's ready to bite you, because it will. All right, that's number one. I mean, you can't. People walk in a glass shop. It's a glass shop. Stained glass. It's got sharp edges. It will break skin. It will make you bleed. And which a safety checklist for any studio considering. I mean, before we go through you must understand soldering. Before we do all that, what I strongly recommend is you let everybody know where the first aid kit is. Have 2 or 3. It's good to have. Hang one up on the wall, right next to the bathroom or a sink that's easily accessible. Have it right there. So when everybody walks into your studio or your environment where you teach, they see the first aid kit. It's like a mental reminder that that's where it is. So that's really important. Number one. Number two, your bathroom area, or it's better to have a bathroom and then a secondary wash sink, they call them slop sinks, or some sort of basin outside the bathroom on a wall with an eye wash station. These are available. You can get them on Amazon or what have you. But what it is, it's a cup that you put, just water if you want, just lukewarm water, and it goes right over your eye. You can actually wash out your eye quickly. It's if you get chemicals, say a flux, which it's pretty bad, but if you do get it in your eye, or a piece of glass chip or what have you, it's very important. Have that eye wash station. They have fancy ones that run off the water, but a good one is just the one that mounts to the wall. You put it next to the first aid kit, which has all the band-aids and things. Hopefully you don't need gauze pad, all that stuff. And it explains that, if you get something in your eye, whether it be flux, a chemical, a glass shard, the last thing you want to do is rub your eye. Immediately start rubbing. You don't go to the eye station and rinse your eye out thoroughly. And if it's really bad and it requires a hospital visit, you explain. You say, you're in an environment, sharp objects and chemicals. Safety glasses are your best protection against serious eye harm. But it could happen. Somebody can be, they drop a bottle of flux and hits the floor, and a big splash comes up, goes over their glasses, or they put their glasses down for a minute and something happens. It can happen, and trust me, it will happen. So if you had a eye wash station and a first aid kit in plain sight, where they see it every day, they have to go to the bathroom, they see it on the wall. Very important. Which leads to insurance issues. You always check with your insurance carrier. Have liability insurance. Harm. Harm to bodily harm. Tell your insurance company what you plan on doing, and explain that you're going to review all the safety rules for your class. All right. Say, your lead contains solder, and the thing about pregnant women. You see someone who's pregnant, I wouldn't recommend it. And just because, if they insist on taking classes, say, you know what, this can wait. Just the thought of a pregnant woman in a glass shop makes me nervous. No less doing glass, and where do you draw the line? 6 months, 9 months? This is silly. It's not recommended, or those are certain medical conditions. And lead exposure to ingestion is a risk. You don't allow them to chew lead, drink flux. Obvious, sensible things. You just, wash your hands, no smoking and doing lead work. Some places don't allow drinks even in the lead or soldering area. So, the elaboration on the glass rules are important. The safety. Safety glasses. You always have everybody. You give them a pair of safety glasses. Number one, give them a pair of safety glasses. You hand them to them. New people. So here you go. This is required for our class. Gloves are optional, but if you're new cutting glass, we do recommend them strongly. It could be, the difference between, starting a great hobby or ending it real quick. They get cut, really quick. You're learning. Here's some gloves. Problem with gloves, they tend to be a little obstructing. So you just let them know that here's the gloves. We suggest when you learn to cut glass or handle larger pieces of glass, wear your gloves. Right? Tell them that. Right? And safety glasses for cutting, grinding, soldering, all of the above. The glasses should always be on, and they have nice ones that you wrap around regular eyewear, and regular prescription glasses are just not enough. All right. They talk about clothing that doesn't dangle or catch. That for obvious reasons, and the long hair tied back. You don't want to grind your hair or burn your hair in an iron. That all makes sense. So maybe a ponytail. Recommend if you see long hair, you let them know. All right. And I'll even go further. They don't mention it here. A lot of folks will wear aprons. Aprons are great. It keeps all the mess off your nice clothing. Even if you have an issue, something splatters up on you, apron is great to have. However, I strongly, and I've said this before, I strongly recommend you do not supply aprons with pockets. Main reason is glass when cut likes to bounce, likes to jump, likes to hide. It will not only lodge itself in cuffed pants and other areas, like sleeves and what have you, but I'll tell you, a nice sharp shard of glass, one of its favorite hiding places is the pocket of an apron. I've seen it happen. Somebody said, look at this beautiful apron with pockets. Oh, that's great. Put their hands in the pocket and there's a shard waiting for them. Don't do it. If you're going to use an apron, nice heavier apron. It doesn't have to be leather. It could be a nice heavy cotton or canvas or what have you. But please, no pockets. It's a serious injury waiting to happen. All right, so make sure that you're clear with that. That goes with the open-toed shoes. Aprons with no pockets. Put that on your safety, your checklist. All right. Lead exposure. I mean, everybody gets it. Don't breathe the fumes. Make sure your studio is well ventilated. Don't use fans that blow fumes, thinking that it's blowing the fumes away from you. A fan like that on the bench top, blowing your solder fumes from your iron, is just dispersing the fumes throughout the room. You want to evacuate the fumes. Move them away. If you want a natural drift of air flowing through the studio, preferably out an exhaust fan that's up close to the ceiling, because fumes will rise. But you explain in your class that avoid inhaling fumes. If folks have all of a sudden their eyes get watery, they start sneezing, you say, look, you got to be careful with the fumes. They have fume extractors that do work. I'm not saying they're 100%, but they do cut down quite a bit. All right. There's lead-free solder. People are going to ask that. Oh, did I make? That's all part of your instruction thing. I'm basically doing the preemptive things you need for starting a class. You have your safety checklist. It's basically a student disclaimer. You can call it that they must sign and understand the rules. And if they have any questions, they must ask about it. Not must, but please ask. Say, you got any questions? And then make them sign it. Very important. And say, eating, drinking, putting fingers in your mouth that should be like a no-brainer. I mean, that's why a lot of classes, they won't allow kids under the age of 18. Some allow down to 16, but I think I think they still suck their thumbs at 16. No, 18. You're an adult. You basically, when you hit 18 to 21, depending on the state you're in, you're now considered an adult who has adult responsibilities. You can't expect a 16-year-old kid to sign off on a waiver, and then they get hurt. The first thing they're going to do is go after you and your insurance. An adult understanding the rules and signing it, you have a better chance of not having issues. I'm not saying don't teach kids. You could have little pre-cut mosaic classes for kids. That's different. I'm talking about stained glass classes. All right. So, and if you agree, you could down below in the comments say, I think kids they can handle large sheets of glass and run around the shop with it and play tag, and keep it 18 or over. I mean, that really it's a no-brainer. Equipment usage. This is if you want to stand over someone's shoulder and watch them grind, that's up to you. I think the principal reason for this is just to make sure that following safety protocol. When you cut glass, and there's a lot of safety things I mention about cutting glass, what not to do, the proper way to handle glass, whether it's scored, not scored, out of the rack. I would never let somebody pull a 34 by 42 sheet out of the rack. You know, to always have the glass available for them in a 12-foot square. And one of my biggest things was, you know, not everybody, a lot of folks do. They'll take a sheet of glass and immediately hold it up to the light over their head, looking up at it. And this glass is saying, hey, I'm ready to break and I'm going to go right down on your face. I mean, that's just, that makes me freak out. I said, look, you hold the glass up away from you, lift it up. You're not going to find every little grain in it. And if in that case, get a light box. Make sure your studio has a good light box. And you have folks say, don't admire the glass up in the air above your face. Put it down in the light box. All right, so that's you know, equipment use. It should be, you know, cutting glass and stuff. There are a lot of rules. I mean, one of my main ones is just understanding that, you know, glass is under stress. Explain to your students that the nature of glass is very unpredictable at times. If there's a flaw in the glass, you will take care of it. Don't let them try to correct a flaw that's on a larger sheet of glass or even a smaller one. If they hear a rattling, you know, let them know. So this is what a flaw sounds like. It's like a rattle, even on a small 1 square foot of glass. If there's a flaw in it, it can be dangerous. And explain what a flaw is. Not to scare anybody, just say, this is how you test. You hold this piece of glass up, it should ring, have a little ring to it. It shouldn't have a rattle. If you could find something with a flaw in it to show them what a flaw looks like or sounds like, all the better. And show them how, don't show them how to handle it. Say, if you get a flaw, let me take care of it. Alright? Simple rules of cutting. You know, you always got to pretend that when glass is moved, whether up off the floor, onto the bench, across the bench, cutting it, separating a piece, that the less movement the better, in a direction that the glass is facing. In other words, if the glass is laying flat, you don't want the glass to go to the sides. Glass is standing up, you don't want the glass to go up or down. You know, for obvious reasons. This is why I point out some techniques I hear, you know, a down and away technique. You know, make it clear that glass does not pull apart. It's the most hideous, dangerous thing I've ever seen, and it's done a lot. You see it on YouTube videos, people trying to pull glass away. It makes me cringe. You explain to them, you can't pull glass away. You snap it down at the score. And you never promote snapping down and pulling away. That's the first thing. You just say, nothing is pulled, don't pull it away. Don't try to play games with it. It's gonna, you know, glass, I'm gonna say it's possessed, you know, it's evil, but it's gonna try to cut you. Yeah, the glass has got a demon. It's gonna try. No, all kidding aside, glass will cut you when it will and can, and the less you do in a way of dangerous movement with glass, the safer you are. Not just even for yourself, it's for the person next to you or the instructor for that matter. Always respect glass as if it's gonna cut you. You know, I pound that into people. I say, you know, it's safety first. You know, if someone's grinding and they're getting in it, they're doing something wrong. Yeah, sure. You know, the instructor's gonna, you know, explain. That's all part of it. But for classes, instructor's presence always, yeah. If you're talking about band saws and ring saws and, the kiln, you're going to start firing glass. Yeah, all those things where someone can get hurt bad. Yeah, they should always be supervised. But it's hard to supervise 6 to 8 people, if that's how many are in your class, or 4. So, that's going to have to be on up to the instructor, and clearly point out, is a good instructor will say, hey, that's not the right way to do it. Let me show you the proper way, and then stop it. And have other people. You stop everybody. Say, look, I'm going to explain. This is now something you do not do. You're not insulting the person doing it. They didn't know. They're taking a class. You say, explain. Say, just to let you know, you're doing something that's not correct. It's not your fault, but we're going to make sure everybody's aware of what's going on here. All right? And explain why. Never just say don't do it. Explain the reasons why. All right. Next, cleanliness. Yeah, the glass ends up on the floor. Make sure it's swept under the bench. Any glass shards on the bench top, make sure it's swept away in a dustpan, or I found a good metal dustpan. Always have bench brushes available, 1 per student. You got 4 students, make sure you have 4 bench brushes, so they can constantly remove shards from their work area. Yes, that's the cleanliness. Whenever you patina or solder a neoprene glove to keep chemicals off your hands, it's good practice. I mean, flux is one thing, water-soluble flux, it washes off easily. But if you got a cut on your finger, you're going to find out how much flux hurts. Open cut, you say, that's not too bad. I could do. You get flux in it, and whoo, it's gonna make you jump. You always wear, wash gloves, or those, doctor's surgical neoprene gloves. Always have boxes, large and extra large and medium for people to use. They're going to break easily if glass hits them, but at least for handling chemicals. That's the cleanliness part. And then, explain, if you have, the glass dust, if a grinder is running out of water and start shooting dust in the air, explain why silica dust is very dangerous, to breathe. Not to a point where you need a mask, dangerous, but make sure there's always water in the grinder. And you let people know. If you need to put a sign by the grinder, do not let run dry, under no circumstances, and you explain it. I'm not saving money on a grinder bit, which you will be. If they grind dry, you're going to burn up bits, but it's more to keep the silica dust down in the studio. Alright, explain that. And let's see, respect, positive, class shit, always kept tidy, always avoid accident. Yeah, it kind of just said that. Yeah, don't there's no game plan. It could be a friendly environment. I would really strongly not allow, discourage any sort of drinking, wine, beer. I mean, just don't do it. It's not good to have tipsy students, right? They could joke about it, but they'll say, you know what, have a little more coffee. And then liability waiver, we already discussed that. Age restrictions, we already discussed that. be accompanied by a paying adult. Well, that's that's a gray area. The paying adult, say, well, you can let my kid do it. I mean, you're looking for problems. I would just cut it off. Say 18 or older. It's really not, again, a craft for kids. You give them pre-cuts and mosaics. Yeah, no cutting glass, no harsh chemicals, no toxic fumes. And then they got specific examples: wearing cotton clothing, full sleeves to prevent catching. Well, you know what? Full sleeves, yeah. I've never thought of that as being a major priority, but let's see. Avoid full sleeves. Okay. I thought it was meant to wear full sleeves. All right. Well, that's not something. Wear cotton. Someone likes polyester or 80-20 blend. That's kind of silly. No food or drinks. Yeah, the apron with the pockets. That's and the open shoes. Attire. Just use common sense. Food should be kept away from soldering. Yeah, they could have, and be careful. If you have an open glass, say, a cup of coffee, without a lid on it, a piece of glass can jump up and land in that coffee. Glass, especially if it hits the floor, someone drops something, it can bounce up 10 feet. I've seen it happen. And jump right into the cup of coffee. If you have any kind of coffee, make sure it has a lid on it. Because when you're not watching, something can happen. So, good idea. Any kind of beverage, even if you're drinking soda out of a bottle, unscrew the cap, take your sip, put the cap back on. Put it to the side. Coffee, your lid with the little hole. That's pretty rare that a piece of glass is going to go in that tiny hole. I guess it could happen, but it's really impossible, nearly impossible. PPE, gloves and respirators. You know what? If that's going to be more, let's say, respirators. I've never seen where respirators are a vital necessity. The only thing, maybe doing repairs on old leaded windows where you got to break apart old cement. Lead dust gets in the air. Yeah, wear a respirator. If you're cementing windows and you got the whiting cloud running around all over, and use a respirator. If you're going to be soldering something, repair an old window that's going to send off fumes beyond your flux, wear a respirator. Best thing is good ventilation, and show your students how to avoid breathing fumes directly. I don't think a little smell of a fume is going to send anyone to the hospital. But still, if someone has respiratory issues, maybe they should be wearing an N95 mask. But most people, I don't feel, and this is my opinion, if you want to wear a mask, you have the masks available. Look, if you feel more comfortable with a mask, please wear it. But, you can't tell them to wear a mask and walk around with no mask. That's my point. Hey, well, you're not wearing one. You don't force anybody, but say, this is why you should use a mask. And, do explain that you do have good ventilation. But there are times when you really should wear a mask. Alright? I just wanted to, go over stained glass classes, a studio guide. And if you have any, if I missed something, put it down below in the comments. I also have really good tips on for folk. If you're running a class, obviously, folk, your students are going to buy supplies. Number one, I'll go back to we'll look at my forum. Number one, the main tool. You don't force them. You say, look, you come to class, you have to bring a glass cutter if you have one, or you offer a glass cutter for them. Let's see, I got this page open. You offer, glass cutters for sale. Have your cheap Toyo. That's a good Toyo, actually. Have your, let's see, let me go back to here. Oh, there we go. You have less expensive glass cutters available. Don't go with anything like this with the big head on it. You go with the standard Fletcher cutter, with the gold band. I mean, it's $17. Cutter like that, you're gonna have it for a very long time. It's got a carbide wheel. It's always a good cutter. So this is the gold standard, no pun intended, with the gold band. It's a hand cutter. You could teach on a hand cutter, but depending on the student, you may have to now go to a pistol type cutter, or one of these. You have a number of cutters in your studio. Hey, how does that feel? You could try it, but honestly, you don't want folks to start using your cutter. They're going to burn right through it. If you want to buy a dozen cutters and just have them as backup cutters for students to use, I mean, you could do that. You could show them how the afterburner works. You got this one. I don't know if this is a Toyo, but you know what I'm getting at. Honestly, a regular carbide wheel. They have a, let's say pack. I saw a very inexpensive pack of cutters. I have it in my store, but it's like a Toyo pack. Let's say Toyo. Let me go color. They have that. There's like a pack of 5 or 6. You can have that, and they're inexpensive enough. I think they were the acrylic ones. That you could have them laying around, but explain to people that the investment of a cutter is going to be a long-term investment. Allow them to use your breakers, your running pliers, unless they want to buy it. Offer them for sale. You grinder, naturally, you let them use the grinder. That's a big hit, for anybody. Upwards to $200. Let's see, your breaker, grouser. I mean, this is actually, I don't know if this is a good kit, but you got to look it over. You know what you're buying. Let them use your grinder. Let them use your chemicals on a first project. Include that in the cost of the class. If they're going to use a little patina, it's not going to break you. They may end up saying, all right, I need a bottle of glass cutting oil, I need a bottle of patina, and I need a bottle of flux, and I need an arm. So you set up all your necessity items, cutter, breaker pliers, grouser, breaker grouser, running pliers, soldering iron, and stand with rheostat if needed, and the chemicals. That'll pretty much get anybody doing stained glass. Less the glass, and the grinder. You could offer carborundum stones, which they're just designed to take off small shards or sharp edges of granite back glass. Show them how that's used. Have them available. Most people, once they understand how interesting it is to do this hobby, they're going to invest in a grinder or put it on their Christmas list, for their husband or wife. It happens. And offer a discount. Offer your grinders for sale. They used to have, very cheap grinders for $70 years ago. I don't know if they still have, it was not an off-brand, but I forget the name. But everybody doesn't have to have the, the tech, I can't even think of the grinder, the real expensive one. The Technoglass? I don't know. The grinder. Or the fancy Wizards, or you can get the lesser branded ones. Or, you could also, what I used to do is, any student that came to classes, I said, you want to come back and use the workbench? And I wasn't going to charge them for grinder heads. They'd be on a grinder and you hear them all day. That pit's getting worn down. But you say, be a little lighter on the grinder. But I used to, for insurance purposes, I had to charge for the bench use. So I would charge $10. You say, look, here's your bench. You got a 4-foot by 8-foot bench, all the glass in the world you need, and you got someone behind you keeping an eye on you and available for questions. And I'm a friendly guy, so and this I would offer for somewhat advanced students that want to catch up. Come back and finish up on a project or work it through without interrupting me that much. But honestly, I didn't mind. I didn't mind people. Hey Gary, what about this? I helped them out. I was in the evil, the troll under the bridge says, oh, you gotta, no. They pay $10 and it's mostly for insurance purposes. If I just said, hey, come on in, it's on me, then it complicates things. All right. My insurance company says, you charge them something to come through the door for the day. This way it's now falls into, the umbrella coverage. If you're an invited guest, it's different. It's like it was something they explained. I didn't understand it, but yeah, most people. I said, yeah, come in at 8 o'clock in the morning, stay till 6 at night. That bench is yours. I will not unless you want your friend to, come with you. But that bench is for rent for the day for $10. People loved it, and it wasn't the $10, but I offered that. I was there anyway. And I actually became very friendly with a lot of these folks that came. I'd leave them in the shop. I had to run somewhere. Hey, take care of the shop. I'll give you a percentage if you sell anything. So, anyway, you build with classes, you really do build a long-standing friendship and a personal bond with a lot of your students. And that's how it should be. No one should be there Mr. Grumpy Pants or somebody I don't know, this guy doesn't know what he's done. No, it shouldn't be any animosity in the air. It should be a friendly environment, a learning environment. And I just wanted to open to my students, and basically anybody who walked through my door. When I sold glass, I sold a lot of glass. And one of the main reasons is, and this, I was, ridiculed for doing it, by my family, by other studios in the area. So, why do you do that? And I explained, and I'm going to explain right now what I did. I had a glass trade-in policy. Say you had a square foot of red or a pound of green. Yeah, you bought that from me. It was $3 a pound. I know it's more than that now. Let's just say $3 a pound for this green. You bought it from me. You bought 10 pounds. And you're done with your project. And you bring back, and the size of the glass has to be a minimum of a 4x6 and intact, not a bunch of scraps. You bring back scraps, you get paid in scrap price, $1 a pound. But if you bring back usable size glass that I could put in a rack, typically larger than 4x6 or an open hand, I said, I will pay you. I will actually give you 100% credit for that glass for anything else in my racks. 100%. No 90, no mark, no restocking fee. 100%. And what that did, and I really didn't think of this when I did it. I just wanted to help people out, because one of the biggest things you hear is, I'm doing this piece, it's this big, and I don't know if this is enough glass. I say, maybe I should buy more. I say, well, you know what, don't worry about it. Buy twice as much, because whatever you don't use, as long as it's not scratched or broken into 1,000 little pieces, bring it back. I give you full credit for that glass. I'm not going to pay you cash. I'm going to give you full credit. For more glass, or you want to buy a grinder, put it toward a grinder. Anything I saw, you can put it anything. It's like cash, but I'm not going to give you cash for it. So if you bought the glass, it's a reinvestment in my studio. Well, let me tell you, I don't think a handful of people ever did that. I mean, they did. They brought the glass back, and I said, you know what? You could buy from Joe Glass, the next town over. I'll take his glass too. I said, you bring in glass, it's worth money to me. I'm going to give you what it's worth, put it in my rack. Because that also it actually filled my racks up with different types of glass. I would say a lot of people did not do it, but thinking back, many did. So I ended up with a nice selection of glass. I said, you don't have to just return the glass you buy from me. As long as it's not stained, scratched, or what have you. And I look at it. I weigh it, measure it, whatever it is, put it back in a rack, and write down, as in there. I used to have a book for people. I say, here, you my book. Put the name at the top. It's one of those, those old bounded spiral, not even spiral, just a good heavy black and white book you get in school, with the stitch bound. And you say, you're getting a page. Everybody gets a page. And if you need another book, say you're in book 1. Just remember which book you're in. I didn't need more than one book. I say, okay, Linda. I'm going to say Linda. She was one of my good students. I say, all right, Linda, here's your page. And they'd bring the book to me and say, and they open up to that page. I brought in this. They got so used to it. But here's the other thing. A lot of people did. They bought, say, 2 square feet of iridized pink, and they only used half of it for what they needed. Well, there's a really strong chance that they're never going to bring that other half back because they love it so much. They don't want to part with it. But I allowed them to. And that was the crazy thing. So basically, this is what I told other studios. I said, I'm selling twice as much glass. I don't allow people to bring it back. So they bought twice as much. And it wasn't a gimmick. Look, bring it back. Or don't worry about buying too much because you can return it. It was the smartest thing I ever came up with glass. Anybody running a studio, classes, You do that, you're gonna see your glass sales double. I'm not kidding. You know, you're gonna see people buying more glass, and it's, oh, I'm gonna buy 10 sheets of glass instead of, trying to pick through the scraps. That's another thing that really irked me. Yeah, you get the scrap bins, for a little bit of this, a little bit of that. People trying to conserve what they buy because they don't need a whole lot, and they start picking through your scrap. Next thing you know, scrap's going all over the place, hitting them, cutting them, and then you're charging them for the scrap, and they end up, not using it, or and if they return scrap, I had different scrap prices. Anything that was in a rack was like half price, or close to price actually, if it was usable, because you weigh it, you don't have to measure it at that point. And then I would have bins with glass smaller than the hand size. It's smaller than your hand, it goes in a bin, and that's typically reduced, half or 1/3. I used to have $1 a pound. And then the stuff that hit the floor, little shards, I just say bring a bucket, and I put it aside, and I say because the schools would ask for it. Say, oh, don't throw your glass out. We'll take whatever you got. So I did. I'd fill buckets up, and if they didn't show up, well, other people did show up. I didn't hold it for anybody. And they'd grab the whole bucket. I said, don't, take the bucket. Bring me a good bucket back. And they did. And I had, the one class, there was a college nearby, and they taught mosaics, and I said, I'll put it aside, but you got to come pick it up. If this thing gets full, it's going by the door. So, anyway. Back to classes. I'm looking at stuff. Yeah, as far as tools, don't make everybody buy everything. Start with the glass cutter. So you're going to be doing glass. You need a glass cutter. So that's it. Make them feel happy about they own a glass cutter. You say these beginners, they get tickled pink. They say, I own a glass cutter. Look at me. And before you know it, they're going to own, besides a glass cutter, they're going to have all the other stuff, the grinder and the, this and that. So, let's see, stained glass patterns. All right, enough of that. I just wanted to do a quick, let's see, window. There you go, stained glass class, a studio guide. And also, I will discuss this in the forum. This is my guide from my mouth to your ears on YouTube. You can reference it, comment below, read what other people have commented. Give me feedback. If you do teach classes, I'd love to hear from you. Say, oh, this is what I do. I really would love to hear. I mean, please, down below. And again, I would instruct people if they had a question. People walk in, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? They watch me cut glass, and then I want to cut like you. I said, well, you can't. It's gonna take you 3 years. Yeah, but how did you? I cut for 3 years. Oh, and I've been cutting for 30, 40 years or more, but it takes 3 years to really become proficient at it, where you're really accurate. But it's better, and I explained my way of cutting. It's not a mystery. I prove it many times about draw cutting. But the first thing I hear out of new people, and I may be working it. They'll come in during the day when I'm cutting glass. They say, oh my God, look how you're cutting glass. I want to cut like that. And that was one of the reasons why I didn't teach, because I didn't know how to push cut a glass cutter. My instructor did. His name is AC. A good guy, local guy, really friendly. Ladies loved him. And he pushed the cutter, because that's what he knew. I pushed the cutter. I'm all over the place. I was like, how could I teach someone to cut glass if I don't know how to push cut a glass? I figured it out. It's not rocket science. But yeah, they see me cut glass, like, I want to cut like you. Other things, soldering, this and that, little tricks of the trade. They want to hear a lot of the history and how I got to be what I'm at, I'm doing, and the oohs and the ahs, and they like, where did you go learn how to design stained glass? You almost sheepishly say, I didn't go to school. Oh, come on, you had to go to college to learn how to. I say, no, just learn by watching and doing. It's just kind of something you pick up. Glass cutting, yeah, they threw a glass cutter at me, some glass, and said, cut. I literally, they'd say, you cut like this. They showed me, you cut like this. Okay, here you go. Look up, look around. Dad, help. Well, nobody helped you, dude. I mean, you just started cutting. You look at someone else who's been cutting. All right, that's how it's done. That's how you hold it. This is what you do. Cut. And the first couple of days or weeks were rough. They didn't leave me alone. They kept coming back. You're doing this wrong, or try that. But that's pretty much it. Just learn by doing. Your students as well. You're going to find, some students pick it up. They're like, come on, you've been doing this. No, I watch some people. It's like, wow, you got a natural ability. And then others, they could spend months and still, make you cringe when they're doing things because afraid they're going to cut themselves. It's not for everybody. Stained glass is more the hands-on, people who, do things with their hands. And and the bottom line is be open, professional, and avoid stupid tricks, especially stupid glass tricks. And never, ever, ever put down a fellow glass studio unless you have facts to back up why you're bringing up something that they may be doing incorrectly. And I could tell you, working in a town where there were other studios, that people picked up horrible habits, things that were basically made no sense, how I had to explain why. I never said, no, do it this way and that's the only way. You got to do that. I never did that. They say, well, my old instructor said I got to do. Well, I'll tell you why that's not correct. And, and I'll explain and I'll demonstrate why. Then they go, oh, why did they teach that way? I said, well, and that's where I cut myself off. I said, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to, I just say, don't do it. Make your decision, but here, this is the proper way, whether it's safer, more practical, or, the way I've done it, most of the time it's going to fall under safety, logic, reasoning, science, chemistry, all the above. I mean, it's a hobby, but there are parameters, right? There are parameters. There's really no tricks. Everything's done for a reason, and like I said, for safety, science, logic, and all the above. So good luck if you're having classes. This is a little studio guide. Be sure to read the comments below. I'm sure they're going to pop up where other people who are running classes or have experienced stained glass classes and have seen some things that, raise an eyebrow or question. Will comment below. Please come back, and if you are a subscriber, you would have been notified that I have a new video. But if you're not, please hit the subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. I love the thumbs up. I'm not going to put thumbs all over my things. Hey, give me a thumbs up. But you know what I love more than anything is the comments. Don't thumbs up me. Don't thumb down me. Put a thumbs down. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I like the thumbs up, but I love the comments. Please, just say, hey Gary. Just say you're an idiot. I love it. I love them all. All right. So again, subscribe and comment below. And if you like this particular video, hit that thumbs up. I'm not going to get upset over that. Just kidding. You take care and have a very nice day.